This reading will be for Aquarius. If you have Aquarius in your chart, your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign, this will be for this week. So, week of Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. um, week of Thanksgiving or for today, but basically, like, message of the week. Go. Okay. Right off the bat, I feel like this has to do with inner strength. This has to do with you healing from, well, a multitude of things. Going off of the last reading that I just did, I feel like Aquarius, you are going through a lot of changes, a lot of transformations. A lot of them have to do with the inside, has to do with mindset, has to do with healing from old heartbreaks or new heartbreaks that are bringing up old heartbreaks. I feel like it's just a very layered thing that you're going through. And it doesn't just pertain to one aspect of your life. It's like if you're going through one thing, it hits like three other things going on in your life. Going on. You also have, I'm going to say, long term commitment stuff going on. I feel like for the bulk of Aquarius right now, does have to do with career. It does have to do with tending to your garden, if that's how you want to look at it. I also feel like this has to do with a reframe. There's good stuff that comes with the bad, there's bad stuff that comes with the good. And for a lot of you, you guys are leading the way in some sort of promotion or like a positive change. So if you just left a job, maybe you're in your entrepreneur vibe right now and you're exploring, a new life outside of what you've known. Maybe you've committed yourself to this mindset of a 9 to 5 that you really want to stay at, you really want to grow at. And I also feel like with this long-term commitment, there's the reminder throughout your healing journey, a reminder to move with good intent and to move with kindness, to not allow past experiences to spoil your new ones, or to see things in a jaded way or a jaded perspective, or to feel things, I think, with like preconceived notions, or just the assumption that there's going to be some sort of an ickiness to it. I also feel like this has to do with, going off of the last video that I did, Aquarius, you're going through these, you have just like a blob of energy, and it came from somewhere. So it either came from some sort of event, a separation, a moment in time, just whatever it is, it seemed to have just, it is like a big ball of energy that's going to act as a catalyst. And it's up to you to allow that to either feed into bad habits, bad mindsets, or if you're going to use this to catapult you into the next big thing in your life. And I want to say that's a reminder because of these cards. And I like to see things full picture to see where everything's at and what the vibe is overall. But that's what I'm getting from the vibe overall. And with Aquarius, I mean, actually, I feel like with most people, it's pretty hard to separate different aspects of our lives. It's really hard to separate ourselves from our work because we spend so much time in a career or a 9 to 5. We spend sometimes most time with our coworkers than our actual family members. So that can be really hard to separate ourselves from that. It can be really hard to separate your work life from your family because that's what you do every day. Like it's so hard to just not combine everything together. And there's pros and cons to that too. But I think if you're in a healing period, you want to make sure that you are able to do that to the best of your ability without falling or reverting into old ways, or allowing this to entertain the bad stuff that was going on. Well, this is the week of Thanksgiving. And another note, I feel like with long-term commitments too, like, I keep wanting to say reframe because it just kind of depends on how you look at stuff. Like with this card in particular, what draws my attention is like the positive aspects, right? Like you have like all the beautiful colors, the greenery, stuff is growing. You got like the fruits of your labor over here. You got like grapes. But, and you have like this bird, right? And birds, when I think of birds, I actually think of it in a positive way. Like this hummingbird, I love hummingbirds. I view them as good omens, like signs of good luck. There are people who do not like birds, and for them, that's like the worst day of their life, like seeing a pigeon out on the street. So that can be, depends on how you look at it. That can be just about perspective. But in terms of how I view birds, view birds as just very beautiful creatures, freedom, they're free spirits. And, but I also feel like this is interesting because it's like they're wearing a glove on this one, or on this hand, right? And like not on that hand. So they're guarding themselves from that. And that can be however it is that you want to take it. The way that I take it is that there's some level of jadedness that you kind of want to watch out for. Like, you don't want to allow your jadedness to control your future experiences with life, with love, with romance, with career, with any of that kind of stuff. You want to be able to like isolate that, right? Like, isolate that incident. If something didn't work out with you and another person, like, that's not your sign to just start hating Capricorns if they were a Capricorn, or like that's not your sign to just to allow that to be like a negative streak in your life moving forward. Um you just want to be able to isolate that and to heal from what you need to move on from that specific experience, and then to just be a better person after that. Like, that's what this is encapsulating, is a reminder to move upward. The whole idea is you want to be better than your parents. If you're moving in a career, the whole point is to be better than the managers you've had previously. You just want to be better than the last stage you were at. You don't want to allow one poor experience to dictate the rest of your experiences moving forward. That's how you stay stuck. That's how you stay stagnant. And that's also how you repeat and you don't evolve. Okay, move on. So someone is unavailable, waste of time, it's over. For some of you, if it did have to do with with Pluto retrograde, I felt like that had to do with a lot of drop offs in connections in our life that happened to do with work, with romance, with friendships, whatever. You don't always have to villainize a situation or a person to just be done with. Whatever the situation is that you're needing to heal from or move on from, it might be best to just isolate that experience from everything else. So like in the context of this reading and like the timeline of Thanksgiving and everything, it can be super easy to sit in a negative Nancy mindset and to focus on what you don't have, for your fixation to be on the predator, on like a negative experience, on like what happened wrong in your life, and like you're forgetting the bigger picture, the fruit, the sunset, the greenery, and all that kind of stuff. And with the holidays, I think it's super easy to get lost in what we don't have, who we don't have in our lives anymore, and just stuff that will entertain, that'll keep us sad and down in the dumps. A reframe might be needed too. A reframe might be needed on the positive stuff that you have going for you. Honeymoon is interesting because, the card literally says honeymoon phase, attending somebody's wedding, so might be for you. But, well, when I think of a honeymoon phase, when people say that, it's kind of said with a negative connotation. It implies that whatever euphoric feeling that you're going through, or whatever positive period you're going through, is temporary. It's an illusion. It's not something you can hold on to. I want to say to be watchful of that, though, Aquarius. I want to say to be really watchful of that. Especially if you're in a healing period. When you're in a vulnerable state, you can attract predators, if that's how you want to look at it, like that. Easy to attract user energy when you're in a vulnerable state. Be careful in how you heal too. Like, if your form of healing is trauma bonding with somebody, and you're going to allow that to be the only form of bonding that you're doing with somebody, and the only time you ever talk with someone is to talk trash about someone else, like whoever it is that you're trying to move on from, be very careful with that. Very careful, because that in itself is an illusion. It's an illusion of friendship. It's an illusion of a partner. you want to make sure that when you meet people or when you're in a new work environment or when you're talking to somebody and you're in the beginning stages of a relationship, you want to make sure that that is built on a mutual level of respect and personal details about you. If it's built upon bashing somebody else, it's like what goes around comes around. You know what I mean? So I would say be very careful with that. Be very careful. And that's how I'm interpreting honeymoon stage is like if you've befriended somebody and you're like, man, you're so easy to talk to, I can just tell you all my life secrets. And I like that we got a mutual enemy or whatever. It's like, bro, hey, you asking for trouble at that point. Like, because what happens after that conversation's done? You know what I mean? Like, people move on from stuff, people grow, and it's like, what if you don't have anything to bond on other than that? It's like, what even is that? You know what I mean? And it's like, look at that. Look at how you look now. You just gave up all your secrets for somebody else. So I would say definitely be careful of that. Be careful of things that are too good to be true. Enjoy your time with people. Don't let any triggers or bad moods or anything. Don't allow that to dictate your holiday. Don't allow that to dictate your new opportunities or to soil them. And yeah, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.